Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased, true crime channel, often imitated, never duplicated. First on the docket, homicide charges are filed in the death of Samuel Olson. Second, a happy ending for a child that was kidnapped. Third, that guy named Harvey is going to try anything not to go to California. An update on two cases that we talked about. A school counselor was arrested. I wonder for what. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day and a recap of our contestants for the dumb criminal contestant of the week. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk, and my name is Scott Reisch. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button as well as hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. First, I want to thank my staff. They got me a nice gift today, and they surprised me with a cake. That's right, for my birthday. Happy birthday to me, technically, tomorrow. And I know the lovely Miss Kristen has a weekend full of festivities planned, so I can hardly wait to see what it is. All right. First on the docket today, homicide charges have finally been charged in the death of 5-year-old Samuel Olson. Who? That's right, Teresa Balboa. That's the girlfriend of Samuel Olson's father, and she was the one that was with Samuel Olson at the time of his death. At least that's what the prosecutors and the police are alleging. A quick recap of this case: Samuel was reported missing on May 27th. Now, Miss Balboa told the police that the boy's mother, a woman by the name of Sarah Olson, and a man dressed as a policeman came to her apartment and demanded the child. As Houston police investigated, they noted various inconsistencies in Miss Balboa's statement. She clearly became a person of interest at that particular time, but there was not enough to arrest her at the time. But you have to really think about how poorly this is going to play out in a courtroom when you're the one charged with the death of a child and you basically tried to lie to the police to have someone else charged potentially with that crime. Bad move on Miss Balboa's part for sure. Now, on June 1st, police found Sam's body inside a Best Western hotel in Jasper, which is down near Houston. A roommate of Miss Balboa, a gentleman by the name of Ben Rivera, he called in a tip to 911. Balboa was arrested and charged with tampering with evidence, specifically the corpse of young Samuel. Sam was wrapped in sheets and placed inside a plastic tote, according to the arrest affidavit. Rivera was also arrested for lying about the timeline of events in connection with Samuel's death. Rivera knew, according to police, that Sam was deceased weeks longer than what he admitted to the police. Rivera has since been released from jail after posting a $100,000 bond. He says that he is cooperating with the authorities, but still remains on house arrest pending a trial date. Now, several weeks later, a third suspect, Dylan Walker, was arrested in connection with the case, and Walker is accused of using his name to check into the Best Western Motel in an attempt to hide Miss Balboa's whereabouts. Oh, yes. That's when you become an accessory, when you know that somebody has committed a crime and you try to delay, hinder, or conceal evidence from the police or individuals, not just evidence, but individuals as well. Yeah, you become an accessory after the fact in that regard. That's why Mr. Walker is charged. Now, murder charges came against Miss Balboa after the autopsy revealed that Samuel died from homicidal violence. Not exactly sure what that term means in Texas, but everywhere else it pretty much means blunt force trauma and homicide because it was at the hands of another individual. So obviously we'll give Miss Balboa, as well as any of the other suspects in the case, the presumption of innocence. But what we also know is apparently Miss Balboa had both of her children, lost her parental rights with her own children. So I can't imagine why Sam's father would have thought that maybe she was going to be a better mom around his child. Sad case indeed. Next on the docket, finally, something good where someone has been kidnapped and they have been recovered safely. I'm sure this young girl, only 6, will be traumatized for a long, long time. Let's hope that she gets the help that she deserves and needs. Now, if this doesn't scare you, all right, if you have small children, go to the window, check and see where they are if they're outside playing, because this may scare the hell out of you. A 6-year-old girl was kidnapped last Friday and then rescued in about 30 minutes by the Louisville Police Department. Now, the suspect, who had no relation or custody of the girl, allegedly told the police that he saw the girl. She was playing outside near the street. Nobody apparently was there with her, circled back around the block, and then took her from the side of the road. Now, the suspect, a guy by the name of Robbie Wilt, W-I-L-D-T, he told the police that once the girl was in the car, that she began to cry. He then began to console her and then knew that what he was doing was wrong. So I guess Mr. Wilt had a conscience, or maybe he just got really scared. Either way, he began to drive back to the location where he took her from. Now, why did he say he was taking her back? Because he said he was afraid he was going to hurt her. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, fortunately, this young girl was not hurt more than hopefully the psychological damage that she's going to have to endure. But that's how quickly something like this can happen. See a child standing on a corner. Somebody says, hey, I think I want to take that child. And guess what? They're going to panic. Fortunately, this guy, only mitigating thing about his conduct is that he took the girl back and she was safe, but it doesn't justify or excuse or provide a defense for Mr. Wilt in his cases. He is a dangerous person. He picked up a 6-year-old girl who was minding her own business on the street. And fortunately, he didn't go harm her or hurt her because maybe he got a conscience or he just got scared. Most of the people that do that, they harm the child because they get scared. So bad deal. But anyway, the body-worn camera that was released shows the police officer, Sergeant Joe Keeling, locating Wilt's vehicle and stopping the suspect, and he waited for other police to arrive. Then Officer Jason Burba's body-worn camera footage shows Burba opening the passenger door of the suspect's car to find the young girl in there. And what's she doing? She's crying because she's scared to death that somebody other than her parents or family members picked her up off the street corner. And her first words when she was taken from the car was, she wants her daddy. Mr. Wilt did make some additional statements stating that he knew what he was doing was wrong and he felt bad about the entire situation. Well, needless to say, he's charged with kidnapping a minor, and he's been booked into the Louisville Metro Corrections Center awaiting his first appearance. His bond was set at $1 million. Sounds about appropriate for somebody that likes to kidnap small children minding their own business, playing in their own yard. Ladies and gentlemen, you just can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you, you just can't make this stuff up. And fortunately, that story turned out better than what we oftentimes have to talk about on this show. But God, that's got to scare each and every one of you out there, particularly if you have children. It's just a scary, scary thing. And it can happen just like that. All right, next on the docket, Remember that guy named Harvey? We can't really say his last name. Why? Because it suddenly kicks off all the Google algorithms or something, and then they demonetize our video. But you remember Harvey. He was sentenced to 23 years back in February of 2020 regarding his convictions for sexual assault, whereupon he was recently indicted in Los Angeles for very similar charges to which he was found guilty in New York. Well, that guy named Harvey apparently is becoming quite comfortable in New York and doesn't want to go. He has basically fought extradition to California. And now the reason why that guy named Harvey doesn't want to go back to California is because, well, he's going blind. And according to pleadings filed on behalf of that guy named Harvey, he states that he needs new glasses with corrective lenses because when the doctors wrote in their notes during an examination of him that his current reading glasses are broken and they do not fit him. The California prosecutors have said, don't worry about it. If that guy named Harvey needs new glasses, we'll hook him up. He will have a continuation of care and he is going to be taken care of, and we will personally get him glasses so that we can have him extradited and seek justice in his particular case. And since lawyers always have to have the last word, the attorney for that guy named Harvey said, quote, "We appreciate the DA and the sheriff promising to provide that guy named Harvey with quality medical care, but he is midstream in a critical and sensitive course of treatment with an ophthalmologist in Buffalo that is necessary to prevent him from going blind." The attorney also goes on to say that that guy named Harvey should be allowed to complete his treatment with his current doctor without the delays and dislocation of medical risk that will be caused by his transportation to Los Angeles. We'll see what the judge decides on this latest motion to keep that guy named Harvey in New York, because previously the court had said, no, you're going to California, because guess what? They have medical treatment and glasses in the state of California. I would say to you, that guy named Harvey, pack your bag and don't forget your glasses or your toothbrush. You're heading back to the coast. All right, a quick update on two cases that we covered this week. There was the case regarding the death of Gene Siller. He was the PGA professional that was basically gunned down on a golf green for no apparent reason, but the speculation by the police, or their theory, I don't want to say speculation, their theory is that Mr. Siller somehow witnessed a crime in progress, and the gentleman that did the shooting basically thought that he needed to get rid of all the witnesses. The guy that they believe is responsible not only for the death of Mr. Siller, but the two bodies that were found in the pickup truck of the vehicle that was left on the green is a guy by the name of Brian Anthony Roden. Now, he was arrested just yesterday afternoon, not far from where this killing took place. But the frustrating thing is that he was actually arrested shortly after the homicides for basically driving under the influence. Of course, nobody knew exactly what else was going on, so he was booked and released. And that release on those misdemeanor charges came some 12 hours after the police had actually responded to the shooting on July 3rd. He was found about 25 miles from the golf course of this triple homicide. Now, the police would not say whether Mr. Roden was considered a suspect at the time that he was released of the homicides. More than likely, they didn't know. It's also unclear how they were able to identify Mr. Roden as of this point, but hopefully they got the wrong guy, but we'll give him the presumption of innocence. But when you have two bodies in the back of a truck and you drive up and shoot somebody on a green at a golf course that had nothing to do with anything, I would say you've had better days ahead for sure. We'll continue to follow that. All right, next on the docket, remember the 4 inmates that escaped from a jail in Western Illinois. Take a look at these photos. All right. Which one do you think is still on the loose? That's right. Crazy Eyes. Look at that guy. Crazy Eyes with the smirk. The other three look potentially harmless, maybe a little slow indeed. But look at this guy. Look at the look on that guy's face. Would you pick him up hitchhiking near the prison? I don't think so. As we discussed the other day, the deputies learned of the escape Wednesday night after one inmate went missing from a cell block. And then they were able to determine that the other three individuals were on the run as well. Now, one of the inmates, a guy by the name of Mr. Davis, was captured in the Farmington area, which is in Fulton County, and Mr. Villalobos and Mr. Rowetz were captured in adjacent Peoria County. And like I said, it's as I've stated in the past, escape is one of the dumbest crimes that one could possibly commit. First of all, you're usually not going to get very far, and people tend to look for you, and they usually find you when you, in fact, do escape, particularly in this particular case, when the police considered all four men armed and dangerous. And what's even more puzzling to me is that none of these individuals were looking at huge time. Davis was charged with methamphetamine and possession by a weapon. Villalobos faced charged of methamphetamine and resisting. And Mr. Hart, his charges included home invasion, possession of a firearm by a felon, and fleeing police. Mr. Rowett's charges included methamphetamine possession and possession of a firearm by a felon. Starting to notice a pattern here. Drugs. Having prohibited individuals possess firearms. Yep, that could be dangerous. But why would they be possessing firearms? They know they shouldn't be possessing firearms. It's like they didn't even read the law. But like I said, this guy, he's the one that's still missing. Take a look at that face. If you see him, contact authorities immediately. And next on the docket, that's right, a school counselor has been arrested. Can we take a guess on what he was arrested for allegedly doing? Make your guess now. Let me know if you guessed right by the end of the story. A school counselor by the name of Tyler Ball Imsdale, he's 29, and he was arrested related to crimes related to the production and possession of photographs of children. That's right. And we're not talking that he was working at Disneyland. We're talking about inappropriate photos of children. Now, where did Mr. Imsdale work? He worked at the Washoe County School District. He has since been released from that position once reported suspicion emails containing illicit images of young boys were found on his email. Now, once the police got access to that work email, they did a little investigation and they found some 250 suspected images of photos and videos of child abuse located on the email and electronic device. They were all connected to Mr. Ball Imsdale. Police believe that Mr. Ball Imsdale, his pattern was to lure his young victims using a technique known as catfishing, where people pretended to be someone else online and other social media platforms while they're communicating with other individuals. In this case, the false representation was meant to obtain sexually explicit photos and videos. So far, the police have been able to identify 8 of the victims allegedly found on Ball Imsdale's email and devices, although detectives say many more potential victims have not yet been identified. It appears as though Mr. Ball Imsdale had worked for the school since at least 2019. Once again, we have a situation where people are working near the children. Now, I have a friend who likes airplanes. I like airplanes. So what does he like to do? Well, he hangs out at the airport because he likes airplanes. Then you have some people that, well, they like young children. And what do? They hang out where you can find young children. Just saying. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. All right, let's move on to our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant. But before we get to that, let's give you a quick recap of our dumb criminal contestants throughout the week. Didn't do a video on Monday because it was July 4th. Tuesday, however, we brought you the dumb criminal, a man who broke into a home at 4 a.m. in Covington, Washington to rob the home, but apparently stopped to do some laundry and make some food. It's unclear whether the suspect was doing his laundry or that of the family that actually lawfully was allowed to be there. Wednesday, DAVION GILLORY and TREYKIA COHEN started an argument with a McDonald's manager saying their fries were, that's right, too salty. And then they did what everyone does, pulled out their firearms in the drive-thru while yelling at the managers. And fortunately, deputies were able to locate their car and detain them. Gilroy and Cohen have been charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Thursday, we had Devon McNeese. He was a passenger in a car that was trying to cut its way into a Taco Bell drive-thru. The other car in line didn't want that to take place. And so what did Mr. McNeese do? That's right. He loaded a gun and pointed it at the woman in the car. He's been charged with aggravated assault. And then finally, for our dumb criminal contestant for Friday, we have Craig Anthony BULUBAR. He went into a home in Washington State without permission to do so via the doggy door. Now, he was also completely naked with the exception of socks and shoes. Why did Mr. BULUBAR go into the house? The voices told him to do that. Well, he heard the voices after he took large amounts of methamphetamine, heard the voices, stripped down, climbed naked over the fence and into the doggy door to look for sex. That's right. The classic, the voices made me do it, hearing sexual voices in his head, and said, go to the home. Fortunately, he didn't have sex with anyone in the house, but Mr. BULUBAR, you are a dumb criminal contestant of the day. We certainly don't condone illegal drug use, but if you're going to do it, by gosh, why don't you do it at home and maybe lock the doors so you can't get out when the voices start telling you to go look for some sex. All right. Hope you all had a great week. It was a short week with the 4th of July holiday. We will see you next week here on Crime Talk. Have a great weekend.